The marble plinths and the ostentatious decor were straight out of a footballer's wife's room set. At that point, I hadn't really taken much notice of the gay guy. I remember thinking that I might speak to him later if the company got boring. I overheard the conversation with another member of the group and was surprised at what he was saying. He wasn't talking about his latest conquest in Canal Street, and his voice was not what I expected from a man who was, for want of a better word, a puffer. I expected him to sound like Kenneth Williams, but he spoke more like Noel Gallagher after 10 pints. At that point in the evening, Cather, the lady who'd organised the reunion, said she would order some food. I heard the grey-haired guy say to his friend, "I'm not fucking staying here and pissing off to Elsie's house, me, mate." That didn't sound very camp, I thought. What a tight git he is. I've not had much chance of getting a drink out of him, I muttered to one of the girls who stood next to me. I know he was right, it was expensive, but he had made it so obvious that he was mean by saying it. He seemed the sort of man who was so tight he wouldn't even give a fucking door a bang. I was to learn that he'd make Scrooge's spending habits look like those of Elton John's. I asked one of the group who he was, and they told me his name was Williams, Simon Williams. I didn't remember him from school, but everyone else seemed to. He was fairly quiet. He seemed to be a placid observer of what was going on around him. He was quietly absorbing it all. I thought he may have been a mute at first. Looking back, I wish he would have been one. I took less notice as I was getting more drunk, and most of my energies were spent on trying to stand up straight and not say anything to offend anyone. You must have a bloody long paper round with no bite, mate. Time's not been kind to you, has it? Or are they Botox lines on the side of your nose? We all left the homely atmosphere of the Ape and Apple and set off for a nearby nightclub. It was just the hardcore drinkers that were left. There were a dozen 47-year-olds who thought they were 18 again. We got to the club and I still hadn't spoke to the grey-haired guy, but I'd already sussed him out as being one of those that just pissed off before his round was due. We all approached the entrance of the press club. Some of the group was swaying and starting to slur remarks about how they were enjoying the evening and how glad they was that they'd made the effort to come. We got to the door of the nightclub to find a bouncer checking everyone who entered. He asked us where we worked, as the club was strictly members only. It was intended for people that worked on the newspapers. I said nothing on the basis that I wasn't working, but Williams mentioned straight off that he worked at the Manchester Evening News. Lying bastard, I thought. I assumed he was trying to get a free drink when he got inside. He looked the sort who would try and get anything for nothing and then not even say thanks. Looking back, that was an understatement. I learned he literally would want anything for nothing. The bouncer asked the man called Williams for his ID card. I remember thinking, I wonder what the gobshite's going to say now. Get out of that one, dickhead. He felt inside his pocket and said, "Do you know what, mate? I've left my wallet at home. I got it from Harvey Nicks and didn't want to risk getting it nicked. You know what these robbing bastards are like in Manchester." What a fucking bullshitter, I thought. I knew there and then he must have been a United fan. They were all full of shit. If you want a United fan, I wouldn't show me arse in the front of the local co-op. I felt a little uneasy because it had been a long time since I'd spoke to the remaining people. But this sense of unease disappeared as I talked to Joan, another member of the group, about our hockey days and how we both liked the same boy. I noticed that Carol, a girl who, in my opinion, looked a little cheap, was getting loads of attention, and even heard one. Look at Carol, still looks like a page 3 girl and won't click her out of bed for fighting. But Williams, as I was later to call him, wasn't really looking. He just stood leaning against the wall, a small table clutching his pint. He reminded me of a cross between Steptoe and Rigsby, only better dressed. Part of me was pleasantly surprised that he was not as easily impressed with the page 3 stunner. Page 3 my arse, more like page fucking 43 of Reader's Wives, and that was on a good day. Carol came over towards us. She'd been flirting with more or less all the men in the group. Now she was approaching Williams. Not a chance, love, I thought. He's a fucking batty boy. He would not be impressed with her overly blown hair and Botox fucking forehead. And then the moment came when I first spoke to him, the moment when my life would change forever. You know the crossroad moments in life? The moments where if you had turned left it would have been totally different, and if you'd have taken the right turn, if I hadn't spoken to him, then you would not be reading this. "You're a photographer, aren't you?" I asked. "Don't look like a fucking photographer," he replied. My thoughts were that he was not the person I thought he was, and I was getting him mixed up with someone else. I couldn't really hear what he was saying, it was just noisy, so not wanting to appear rude, I just nodded. He seemed to be getting a lot of female attention. I wasn't sure why. Perhaps they knew something I didn't. I wondered if they had made his fortune since leaving school, and that explained his attraction. Eventually he asked me to dance and we got on the dance floor. I only ever get up to dance if I'm at the point of losing consciousness, and that was the case this night. So to be honest, I can't remember if he was a good dancer or not, but what I do remember is his indifference to Carol. She looked livid at the fact she'd been ignored by a man. She tried to get him to dance with her, but he ignored her advances, and the more he seen... She tried to get him to dance with her, but he ignored her advances, and the more he seen her face turn purple rage, the more Kit Williams seemed to get out of it. I became more impressed that this reaction to her was not like that of a normal bloke, who would have been quite easily have taken the opportunity of grasping what was in front of him. Williams seems to find pleasure in the fact that she was appearing to having a sulk. As much as I didn't like to admit it, so was I. The fact that he was not like any other man in the group made me want to talk to him, but I couldn't even hear a word he said. He seemed quite argumentative, and let me tell you, there's nothing better for a Salford girl than the challenge of getting the better of a bloke in verbal warfare. Little was I to know that I was never going to win the smallest battle against him. Want to bet? And I was not to know that he was wittier than Ali, and his sarcasm was world class. Sling it. By this point, the night was progressing into morning, but I was insatiable. I wanted more, lots more alcohol, that is. He asked did I want to share a taxi, as we both lived the same way. Tap-fisted twat, I thought. But my thoughts were exactly the same. Share the taxi fare, or save a fiver. If I was lucky, he might pay for all of it, but I thought there was more chance of Alex Ferguson retiring. He said something about it being easy to get a taxi if you were with a woman. That was the first and last time he ever noticed I was a woman, and that was to enhance his chances of getting a cab. I tried hard not to be sick, but I thought if I was sick, it'd make more room for more drink. I plucked up the courage to ask Williams what had been on my mind from when I started talking to him. I couldn't hold it back any longer, and I needed to be satisfied. I wasn't normally up front with the man, but I took a deep breath and just asked him, "You got any bevy at yours, mate?" Before adding, "Oh, I don't be thinking any funny business either." He looked at me and shocked and replied, "Why, don't you be worrying about that, mate. There'll be no funny business." I couldn't help but smile and think, fucking hell, thank God for that. Not in the habit of going back to strange men's houses, I felt a little bit wary, but there was no need to be. He poured me a vodka, about a quarter of his own measure. Very quickly my bladder grew to the size of Wayne Rooney's head and I needed the toilet. When I went upstairs, I noticed that his stair carpet needed hoovering, but what I never noticed was the locked door, the half-open entrance to the loft, and a lingering smell of something sweet. I didn't know about his secret, I didn't know he had agricultural skills, but that, dear reader, is a whole new chapter. Chapter 2. The match. I'd left early the next morning, having slept on the settee. Williams had covered me up with a quilt and woke me up to drop me off at home. He looked rough. I, on the other hand, looked fresh as a daisy. I remember thinking that I ought to hadn't done anything. Then my mind started to remember things like his mantelpiece being a disgrace, his kettle needed descaling, and he clearly needed to upgrade his toilet runs. It was a little uncomfortable as he drove me home. I couldn't even look at him and felt embarrassed that I'd even stayed at his house after only just meeting him. He parked the car and said, "Look, you mentioned you started some course or other, so you're probably busy and won't want to be bothered going out again, so I'll see you. I'll give you a ring in the week." Yeah, right, I thought. I won't be a dicky bird, that's for sure. Tuesday came, and with it came a text. He called me Shazza for the first time. I replied with the name I would call him for the rest of our friendship. That name was Williams. I asked him did he mind being referred to by his surname. He told me his mum called him Simon, his mates called him Si, and the business called him Williams. I decided to stick to Williams, hoping it would fucking wind him up. I read the text which asked did I want my tea, it is, and he made me pasta with garlic bread. I answered him that I wasn't one to eat much, but actually I do eat a lot, but I didn't want to appear fucking over enthusiastic and being fed and watered. But yeah, okay, look forward to it. At 6 o'clock I received a phone call. Little shit, he's cancelling, I thought. But the next words, far worse than that. They were the words I've dreaded all my life. "Do you want to go to Old Trafford, mate?" he asked. Shit, what did I say? I feared getting a fucking rash or a deep sense of nausea if I went within 30 feet of the place. Fuck it, I thought, just go, there's nothing on telly. Okay then, I said after thinking about it for a minute. I'd never seen a Champions League game before and it would be an experience, but deep down I was worried that he would charge me for my ticket. I'd never met anyone so fucking tight and I didn't have 40 quid to pay him. Right mate, yeah, pick you up in 10 and don't be late, it's a long fucking walk to the ground, he shouted down the phone. What a charmer, I thought, but I look forward to watching a decent match, getting a programme, a bovril and a Hollands meat pie. He picked me up and I was a bit embarrassed because he'd been drunk the last time I'd seen him and now he was sober. We walked and walked and walked. He was too fucking tight to pay parking near the Stadium of Dreams. Stadium of Dreams, my fucking arse. Stadium of shit, more like. Eventually we got to the ground. He was panting and out of breath but still carried on lighting up his sticks at the same time and commenting on how he was going to pack them in. Well readers, I was pleasantly surprised when we got to the ground. The seats were great and I couldn't have wished for a better view. And Williams was quite polite and amusing. Then goal! Braga, the visiting team, scored. I was in fear of my life because I had the biggest grin on my face. I hid my smile behind my scarf. He was not the best pleased. I commented on how United's defence were leaving gaps at the back on the left. His reaction was calm and cool. That's not what I intended. I thought my amateur comments would have made him see it, but he didn't. But then the second goal went in. We're Man United, we'll score when we won. You ain't going to score on any level tonight, mate, I thought. Half time came and I commented I would like a nice cup of PG and it'd go down the street. You can fuck off, he answered. Ain't feeding the fucking Glazers' pockets. Leave that to the Chinese and the fucking Irish. I remember thinking how nice it was that he was embracing multiculturalism. I gave FC United a tenner, as a fucking founding member, he told me. He seemed chuffed with his contribution to the rebel team and he was growing on me, so I smiled and praised his generosity. So we're not having a brew and a pie then, I asked. Nah, not a fucking fiver a go, mate. I only live in Salford. You can wait and have a fucking brew at mine, he offered. Who thought chivalry was dead? Me. Right there and fucking then. Yet inside I was laughing. I was beginning to learn that with Williams there was no airs and graces. It was just genuineness all the way. I felt guilty for about 2 seconds, like United were getting beat. He asked me did I know the offside rule, so I kind of explained it more or less word for word from the handbook. He said I was almost right. What a fucking nerve. Then tragedy struck. United equalised within the space of minutes. Maybe, I thought.